All right, so here we are today. We're going to talk about the top clusters of a certain two letters, and these two letters are actually some of the most common letters we have, and these are the top words that contain those. They're the N and the D. So we're going to do the top ND cluster words for today. So this is a little mini class just for you. There's 11 of them because, well, it's like there were top 10 and there was one more, and I thought, okay, fine, we'll do the top 11. So here we go. First, we're going to talk about how to blend those two consonant sounds. So you can call it a cluster or you can call it a blend if you like. I like consonant cluster because of the two C's. So we've got the N and we've got the D. Sorry, N as in no, no, and D as in dog, d. They have specific names, so if you remember these names, it's actually easier as you build your information about articulation. So let's look at each in turn, and then we'll put them together, and then we'll look at the words that you use most with them. So here we go. How are we supposed to articulate these sounds? Don't worry, I'll zoom in on this chart in a second. But first of all, we've got both of them are going to use this bump right here. Right behind your teeth, there's something called the alveolar ridge. And in fact, let me get rid of these slides for a quick second and bring up something that might help. I got this from like a dentist supply store. So if this is your mouth and you feel inside here, you have this like bump, right? You can feel it with your tongue. Right behind the teeth, right? And it's this shape. That's important because in many languages you might have an N as well, or a D as well, or an S as well, but you might be in a different place on the bump or on the ridge, and how much friction or how much pressure you put on there might be different. So I'm going to talk about all of those things. First, no, this is called the bump or the ridge, the alveolar ridge, and today both the N and the D are right there on the ridge. So that's pretty convenient, I guess, for today. All right, so let's go back to those slides. And by the way, you can always put some questions in the chat box and I can get back to those. But we've got the N's and the D's. Now let's go to the next slide and look a little bit closer. So let's start with the N, right? We know it's on the bump, and that's where I put my tongue. So my tongue is going to go there, but it's also going to go there for the D. So what's the difference? In the N, while my tongue is there, I'm pushing the air out my nose, right? So I have an oral cavity where the air could be, and then I have this quite large nasal cavity back here. So I'm pushing the air out my nose, and you should be able to check. Or if you just put your fingers near the nostrils, then you could feel vibration as well. That should be a clear n, which in itself isn't a problem, but what the problem could be is that a lot of people, they put the air out their nose with sounds that shouldn't be, right? In English, we only have 3 nasal sounds, N, M, and NG. Those are the only sounds where the air should be coming out your mouth. But a lot of people, for example, let's look at the D now, right? The D, the tongue is in the same place, but you don't want the air, you don't want any of that air coming out of your mouth. It's not a nasal, it's a stop sound. So I need to put my tongue against the ridge, stop the air, and then explode it. D. In this case, you see T's and D's kind of occupy the same space. They're both on the ridge and they're both stop sounds. So if you don't know, the difference in the chart is that the top one is what we call unvoiced. There's no vibration here. And the bottom one is called voiced. So that D should have some vibration right here. D. You should feel that. Same idea with the nasals though. If in the nasals there's only 3 that should be going out your nose and everything else should be going out your mouth, that's a mistake people could make. Also with this voicing thing, if you know something should have vibration and then you don't vibrate it, that's a mistake. My D could sound like a T, more often the reverse. A T, something that is unvoiced, people will sometimes add vibration and you don't know if that's a T or a D. So that's a couple mistakes you could be making already. So watch that. D. My tongue is in the same place for all 3. So let's look at the top 11 words. I'm missing something. Top 11 extra words with the ND cluster. Actually, you know what? Let's go back. No, let's actually go to me for a second. Let's put them together. So what am I supposed to do with an N and then a D right after it? How am I supposed to blend those? In this case, it's pretty easy. We're going to talk about other clusters and their top words in other videos. But if I take that mouth again, that big mouth, then I know that my tongue is going to stay on the bump the whole time. So really, at first, the air is going out my nose, and then I bring the air back in my mouth, push on my tongue, and then release. So it's d. Release it out my mouth. This is probably the easiest cluster that we will talk about. And it's a good thing too, because there's a lot of common words that use the N and the D together. D, 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 d. Don't need to move my tongue at all. One of the easiest ones you're gonna do. So let's go back then to the slides, and let's start with we could say it's the number one word with the ND cluster, but you might notice that actually has a number 3 up there, and we'll talk about that in a second. There's going to be 11 words total, but the numbers are going to be different, and that's important. So let's start with this, the AND. It's not the most common word you're ever going to use in English, but it's the number 3 most common word you're going to use in English. And look, there's 4 different ways that I could say it, right? Let's look at each one in turn. So I've got the A sound, I've got the sound, and then I've got something else going on at the end. Whoops, let me go back, sorry. There we go. So let's look at the vowels first. This one, which is like an A and an E together, it's only one sound, even though it kind of looks like 2 vowels together. It's only one sound. So I'm going to open my jaw as much as possible. My tongue is going to go in the front. Ah, 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 ah. That's very different from this one, which looks like a rotated E. That's actually the most important vowel, most important sound of all vowels and consonants in English. It's called schwa, and it sounds like this. Tongue in the middle, jaw partly open, lips relaxed. Ah, ah, I could say and, or I can say und, and, und, and, und. I've already got my nd already done. Now the question is, what comes before it? And, und. Either way is fine. One is the full version, one is the reduced version, but in this case, we can reduce this word 2 more ways. Look at the first one. I can keep that schwa. I can say just not do the D. I like both pizza and burgers, right? Or, look at this, I can just say You've probably seen it on a lot of signs for, like, I don't know, burgers and fries, right? Just like the letter N, right? Burgers and fries, right? Is there no schwa there? I don't know. I guess you could say it like that, depending on what's before it and what's after. So 4 ways to say the word A-N-D. And, und, and n as well. So that's the most important one. You gotta look at that again and again. Really think about what your tongue is doing there. Where's the air? What are my lips doing? All of those things. Next one. It's number 94 on all the most important words on the list of all the most important words in English. It's number 2 for us today. And I got 2 things going on here. Number 1, I have, now it's a combination, right? We saw that A-E together. That's actually one sound. I know that's confusing. Here we have 2 symbols, 2 vowels, and it's a combination of vowels. I know we're talking about the nd consonant blend together today, but we also have vowels that go together. So in this case, I have to do both. Excuse me. I have to do the tongue in the middle. That's true in most languages. Their A is tongue in the middle. Then I'm going to move my tongue forward, right, to the I. Look how closed my jaw is. It's very, very small. I. My jaw is closing at the same time as my tongue is moving forward. I, as in bite, right? Here we go. So that's important. Number 2, We got our nd, we've got our I. Now how do we start? With actually, people make mistakes with this all the time because they might not have an F or a V, or the F might be the same as another sound, or the V might be like a B, and then there's P's and all kinds of different things in different languages. So surprisingly, this F can be difficult for some people. If it's not for you, that's great. But the way you articulate it, still think about it, is the top teeth and the bottom lip, and they're making friction right between them. Find. I need to find my keys before I can leave. Find. Teeth and lips, tongue in the middle, tongue in the front, tongue up to the bump, air out the nose, and then explode for your D. Find. There's a lot going on there, right? Next one, we've got a vowel we've already seen. We know our nd, so there's only one thing new here, but keep in mind that sound. Why? Because a lot of people in their first language, they have that middle A, like we said, their tongue is in the middle, so they might say hand, because of the spelling, but no, it's hand. And for many people in many languages, H's can also vary quite a lot. They can be a little stronger, they could be in different areas in the mouth or throat. In our case, we're gonna think of where like a K or a G sound is. Let me grab that mouth again. In fact, we'll do a quick demo here. If this is your mouth, right, and you've got all this space from here all the way back, think about really far back where you do a K sound. That's the back of your tongue coming up to explode. Even further back, that's where we want our H. Ooh. Hello, for example, right? So, nice and light. It's not super strong like in some languages, and it's hand. Of all the words in the English language, this is number 176. So it's still quite common to say hand. Maybe once a day, maybe at least once a week. Hand. Think about all the things that are going on under there. Sorry, in there. I just read the word. So the next one is interesting. We haven't seen this little symbol before, and look, we've got 2 syllables here. So 2 syllables. The first one is stressed. How do I know? It's got that little kind of like, we used to call them hash marks up there until we had hashtag everything. But this little hash mark up here tells me that the first syllable is stressed. So it sounds like da da. That's at least the musicality of it. Second thing to pay attention to is the vowels. Now the second one we've already done. It's the schwa, tongue in the middle, jaw halfway open, maybe not even, right? Look at the height of my jaw, because the other one right here that looks like this, to me it looks like an umbrella. Look how my jaw was a little bit wider there. My tongue is still in the middle. My lips are still relaxed. Under. You can see how these 2 vowels have different jaw height. That's the only difference. We call them center vowels because the tongue is in the center. And that's important, right? And look at this. Did you notice on the syllables how we kind of split the N and the D, but it's still going to be a cluster. I'm still doing nd. I'm starting with und. And we haven't talked about this R yet either. So we have 2 kinds of R's in English. One is maybe at the front of a word or after a consonant. This one is after a vowel, so we call it a vocalic R, right? And the thing about this is make sure the sides of your tongue come up to touch the molars. Under. I don't know about you, but I say this word at least once a week. So we had the ND, we had the I. Now we only have one new thing here, but let's review that vowel again because I want you to get used to it. Repetition creates muscle memory. So we said ah, I, tongue in the middle, then moving forward. Also your jaw closes. So it's ah in the middle, ah, forward, I. Look how closed, sorry, my jaw is. I. I. Kind. So my tongue is already forward at the end of the I sound. It just needs to go up to the bump or the ridge. Kind. And we kind of already mentioned, that K sound. The tongue is in the back of the throat, right? And it explodes, so it's k, k. Is there voicing there? No, it's not a G, it's a K. K, 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 k. Tongue in the back, tongue in the middle, ah, tongue forward, I, tongue up, N, n, and then explode, D. Kind. This is gonna be fun. We can already see something else you might not have seen before. We have 3 whole syllables. We have primary, remember that's the one on the top. Oops. Primary, the one on the top. And then we have secondary, which is that little hash mark at the bottom. So the syllable stress pattern is a little weird. I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to go down. And then I'm going to go all the way up. Right? So it's understand. Da da da. Right? This is not super common, but this is a really common word, so it's worth learning that pattern. So did you notice the difference there? We had da da and da da. Wait, sorry. Let me redo that because one is primary stress. Da da, under versus understand, right? So the primary stress is actually different in each one. Understand. Very interesting. I love secondary stress. Now, what did we see a while ago? We saw that tongue in the front, open jaw, really push that tongue forward, tongue goes up, air out the nose, then explode, and stand, understand. Also, we have this cluster, which we haven't even talked about yet. We have the S and the T. Speaking of the ridge, all right, speaking of that ridge, we've got a lot going on here. We've got the S, the T, the N, and the D. They all are articulated on that bump in some way. So I start with my S, on the bumps. Then we said a T is like a D, but without the vibration. So it's st. Understand. We've done all the other vowels too. So here we go. It's not the END yet, but this is number 277 on the list of most important words in English, so it's still up there pretty high. Now we've seen the ND, nd, and now we've got a new vowel that we haven't talked about yet. Remember the a sound? My jaw is as open as it could possibly be. The is still tongue in the front, but the jaw is a little less open, a little more closed. So and A-N-D, end, E-N-D. So there's a difference there. Oh, look, we just did that. End, and. You don't have to look as surprised as me, but it's still fun to do that. Notice your jaw height. A lot of people don't, because in many languages, Englishes too, but in many languages, you don't have as much range with the vowels in your jaw. And you might notice that too after. If you practice this a lot, you might be like, whoa, I'm getting a bit of a workout. And that's called our one of our P's that we say, which is oral posture, right? It's how do I hold my jaw in one language versus another language, and how do those muscles kind of respond to that over time. So we have this one. Next one, we're probably about halfway through already. We've got number 280 on the list. For us, I think it's like number 4 or 5. And you can see there's 2 syllables already. You're getting used to this. That little mark means that's where the stress is, the primary stress. In this case, we don't have secondary stress. It's a second syllable, which is not the most common pattern. So it's not da-da, it's da-da, da-da. Around, around, around. That's how I should be stressing that word. But it's not the most common pattern, so people make mistakes on that syllable stress. There we go. I've got my vowels. I got my schwa, my And here's a combination we haven't seen yet. I've seen this A, but I haven't seen this horseshoe looking one before. So I'm starting with my tongue in the middle, right? Like we did for I. But no, I'm going to the back. It's round, round, around, around. So I've got my vowels covered. We did this R, it's after a vowel. Remember, the sides of the tongue come up to touch the molars. So it's I don't even need to move my jaw. I'm just lifting my tongue so the sides can touch, right? Let the tongue back down for the ra, to move it to the back. And then my tongue goes forward for the N and D. Around, 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 around. Isn't this funny? We had and, we had under, understand, and now just the word stand, right? It's a little lower on our frequency list, but we know all the things already, so this should be getting a lot easier now. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Friction with the S, then explode the T right on the bump, st, st. Then we have the st, stand, stand, stand. Back up to the ridge for the N and the D. Stand, stand, stand. Still got my ND starting with an S now. Give me that that's right in the middle. Sorry, a little bit more open than in the middle, but not as much as our is what I wanted to say. So it's not sand at the beach, it's send, send, send. Friction, ND, send, in the middle, send, send. Looking good, looking good. Look, we've got all the components here, except I think we should go over these, excuse me, I think we should go over these vowels. Let me get some water first. I've got my and I've got my se, second, second. Remember, is tongue in the front, is tongue in the middle. So it's second, 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 second. Look at that. We have, let me go back actually. Whoops. We've got the, let me go back to the original word. We've got that syllable stress on the first syllable. That's the most normal pattern. It's da-da, da-da. Second, second, second. We got the vowels, we got the stress. Now, let's look at that. We got our s again, we got our k in the back, and then we explode it. Se, sec, k. Tongue in the middle, k, k. Tongue on the bump, out the nose, then explode out the mouth, d. Second, second. I know it might seem like you're way over explaining this, Bianca, but if you do stop and think about it, because I mean, when we learned, we weren't thinking about that consciously as a child, like where's my tongue going? Most of us anyways, and maybe me as a baby, but most people know. And so now that we're adults, we can actually stop and think of, oh yeah, that's what I've been doing this whole time. Or like, oh, is that how you guys make it? Because we make it very differently. So stopping to think about these things and be like, oh, I never noticed that's what I was doing before. To me, it's really interesting because then you can speak more clearly, more quickly, more fluidly, and more confidently because then you know what you're doing is correct. Right. So what I wanted to say is if this kind of thing is informative for you, if you never thought about it this way, and if you thought, hey, I was just learning words kind of randomly or whatever my teacher gave me when I was in school, I think the way to do it is in fact to go from the most important words. And that's why all these words have numbers. And you probably notice this is our least most important word within the ND cluster words. It's still, if you were to do this in a whole year, it'd still be one that you already do, right? So, because what did I do? I heard people saying this all the time. Simple words, I would correct them and they'd be like, really? That's how you say it? Really? It's not second, it's second? They had no idea. And how would they, right? They learned it wrong and nobody ever told them. So or they're just reading it. So people would get to this pretty high level of English and be saying the most basic words wrong, and a lot because they're the most common words. So I thought, you know what? We got to get back to basics. We got to make sure that we're nailing those top high frequency words in English, right? Because if you do that, if you go back and fix any errors or check for any errors, then you can be more confident that most of what you say is correct. And it's easier to learn the more complicated, less common words because you already know all those little tricks and they just apply those skills, just reapply themselves over and over and over again. So what did I do? I took the most common words and, excuse me, found in computational linguistics, they had already had these lists out there. And I thought, well, why don't we just use those, right? So people were saying the really common words all wrong all the time. Let's get back to business, right? Let's do this. Wouldn't it be great if you knew that the words that you were saying every day already were like 80% fixed? You know, maybe not 80%, depends on how you learned it. But wouldn't it be great to be in the knowledge that like I know exactly what I'm doing. I get the chance to repeat these words every single day and that they were automatic and correct, right? That's the goal and you don't need me to do that. You don't need to go to some one-on-one lesson that's exclusive and pricey. You can do this easily yourself, right? Follow my methods. I've already done this a few times. You can look back at some of those other videos and then let me do it all for you. So I made a whole series of videos that are about 2 minutes each. So we just buzzed through 11 words already. And wouldn't it be great if you did just one word in depth every day? Maybe during your commute, you're looking at your phone, right? Maybe you're walking the dog and you're just listening to this and you're just repeating, oh, d or k. Is my tongue in the middle? Is my tongue in the front? How big is my jaw? Once you know all those tricks that you're looking for, you can then do that repetition. And if I say to you, hey, pay attention to this one word every day, right? How many times do you say the word and? And have you noticed when you were saying and or und and versus n only, right? What if I said, you know what, just one day, pay attention to that one word, rock solid after that. So I created this whole bundle for people and I thought I couldn't stop there because then I thought like, okay, wouldn't it be cool to get a little video every day, right? Personal, you don't have to share it with anyone, you don't have to show up to class, nothing like that. And then I thought, you know what people love doing? Monologues and tongue twisters. So I thought, let's get a little bonus. Let's do some monologues. I'll send out an email every month of a monologue, every Monday. Every month, though, the topic will change. For example, maybe this monologue is about THs or intonation, right? And then the next month, the monologues and the tongue twisters, I should say, maybe the topic changes to focus on S's, right? Or connected speech, perhaps. So every month, there's a topic. And every week you get every day. Let me back up. Every day you're getting a word of the day. Every Monday you're getting a monologue to practice all week. And every Tuesday you're getting a tongue twister to practice all week. And there's going to be more too. So we don't stop there because I love this stuff. So if this sounds good to you, if this sounds helpful to you, then just get my accent training bundle. It's called the 365 Accent Training Bundle. You can find it down in the description. The link will be down in the description or on my webpage, or you can just send me a message any old time and ask for that. It's the easiest way to get started. If how I teach makes sense to you, and if that's helpful for you, me telling you where to put your tongue, what to do with your lips, right? How open your jaw should be. Is it friction? Is it stop? If this kind of demystifies it for you, then this is for you. Like, this is what you want to do. And if that's not for you, that's totally cool too. You can keep watching my videos, listen to my podcast, and I'll see you guys on the next video too. Bye for now.